The aim of Black Mental Matters is to tell experiences with honesty. Therefore, some discussions may trigger an adverse reaction. If a discussion is beginning to upset you, we advise that you please stop listening and talk to your support team.
Welcome, everyone, once again to Black Mental Matters, where we explore the intersections of mental health, culture, and the resilience of Black lives and Black leadership. Well, this episode, ladies and gentlemen, is deeply personal for me. As many of you know, I lost both my father and my brother to suicide. Those losses are part of what shaped this podcast, a place where we can talk about what goes often unspoken and where healing isn't just a topic, it's a calling. So today, I am honored to welcome Javoyne Hicks, a leader who understands the weight of personal loss and the power of turning pain into purpose. As the owner and CEO of Magnifying Synergy, a certified life and mindset coach and mediator, and a wellness advocate within Georgia's legal community, Javoyne has spent her life bridging leadership with humanity. Her journey, marked by resilience, service, and deep healing, includes roles like acting district attorney for DeKalb County, a deputy court administrator for the City of Atlanta Municipal Court, and vice president of DEI at the Institute for Wellbeing and Law, as well as now serving as the treasurer for the State Bar of Georgia. She's a busy lady. But it also includes surviving the suicide of her husband, raising 2 children through grief, and standing tall in the face of unmanageable challenge. This conversation about what it means to keep showing up for others and for yourself, and why wellness has to be at the center of how we live, lead, and love. A voice for healing through adversity, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce to you the lovely Javoyne Hicks. How are you, Javoyne?
I am great. That introduction was like off the chain. Can I get a copy?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Well, it is a pleasure to have you on Black Mental Matters. You and I met each other through, I believe, the Georgia Association of Black Women
Yes.
Attorneys. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Powerful group of sisters, I tell you. You don't want them to not be on your side, fellas. I just tell you. But we struck up a friendship, and later found our commonality and our grief and our loss. And so where do we begin? I mean, you've led in high stakes legal roles, navigated the deep personal loss. Just to get us started, how has your view of mental wellness evolved through it all, Javoyne?
Well, Vince, I have to tell you, I didn't know anything about mental wellness more than people being depressed from time to time, and its impact on how we live until I had to go through it. I knew that my husband, who was a lawyer and a very successful lawyer and county attorney for DeKalb County at the time, had been an officer, what I called an officer and a gentleman. He'd been a Navy officer. And he was battling with depression to the point where he started talking about committing, at that time we called it committing suicide. And it just was something that was foreign to me. And I took that on, but I didn't know what to do with that information. And when he stopped talking about it, I thought we had made it through. And then that's when I found out later, when you're talking to experts in the field, that that's when people who have resolved themselves to follow through with what they've planned, if they don't get any additional help. And so after it happened, I had 2 young children to be devoted to make sure that, and I would tell them, we're not going out like that. We're going to talk, we're going to do what it takes to stay on top of how we're feeling and where to get assistance when we need that. And so that started my journey of trying to see how I could have an impact on other people so that they didn't have to experience what I had to experience, what my children had to experience by the loss of their father. They were only 5 and 7 years old. And what other people in the profession and how rampant it was. And finding out more and more people that were not only suffering, but they had suicidal ideations, and others who had actually died by suicide. We even had a state bar president after serving as state bar president who died by suicide. So it's prevalent in the legal profession like it is throughout the other professions. And I just felt like it was my journey not to let his death be in vain.
That's right, not in vain. Their lives, mattered, and still they live through us. That kind, and for your daughters to be so small. I was 17, getting ready to graduate from high school when
Mm,
I lost my dad, and I tell you, you did a great job because they're successful young ladies and beautiful young ladies, and I always talk about the fact for me. I got a whole patch of my life right there. I can't remember because I went off on the deep
yeah.
end for a little bit, but when we come out of it, we come out stronger. And through activities like this and what you're doing at the bar and everywhere, it just strengthens us.
Mhm.
So, um, can you give some maybe some practices that helped you think along that way? I know you spoke it into existence, but were there some things that you used specifically that helped you get through that time?
First and foremost, therapy. I mean, I made sure that I received therapy, that my children received therapy, because that
Yes,
was one of the things that Charles, my husband, would not do. Because he said that, he was a successful lawyer, so that he knew how to get to medical records if he had to. So he knows that other people could do the same. And so my whole journey has been based on getting rid of that stigma that
yeah,
keeps people from getting the help that they need. So therapy has been, and I had different therapists. Sometimes the first therapist may not, be the last one or work for you. Sometimes you go through therapy and you're doing good, and then life starts happening again, and so go get another one. That's what I did. I got another therapist. Um, the State Bar of Georgia offers what we call Use Your Six, because you get 6 free sessions a year. So I'm encouraging people all the time. You're
yes,
paying for it as part of your bar dues. Go ahead and get help and not be afraid of it. It's better to have you here and get help than to have to worry about somebody saying that you went to a therapist. It's not a bad thing. So that was first and foremost. And then telling my story and
yes,
sharing so that people know they're not alone. When you share and embrace other people, then they are more willing to put the stigma aside and go ahead and get whatever help they need. The other thing that I tell people and challenge people is to get help along the way. Don't wait for crisis.
ah,
Go ahead and get it out, whether you're talking to a therapist, your what I call your personal board of directors, those people that in your life that have your back and you
yes,
can be yourself with them and you know that they have you covered. They are protectors. They're a safe space. People need to find a safe space so they can release, and then you don't have to worry about stigma, and that you'll be the better person for it. So sharing my story and therapy, and then those two bright shining lights of mine
yes,
also are what keep me going. And
yes,
I've just been blessed to be able to have them in my life. And, that's the one thing I guess I have sorrow about, is because he's not here to share in that and see what shining stars that they turned out to be. And they carry him as well. One
yes.
looks just like him, so Sydney can't get around that part.
That's
But
right. That's right.
and
That's right.
Victoria is practicing with his and went to his alma mater for law
Mm,
school. So we
mm.
we all carry him in our
And
own way.
that's another one of the commonalities when met your daughter. Her name is Sydney. Well, that was my dad's name. Was Sidney
Oh,
Bailey
wow.
Jr. Yeah, and there's about 5 Sydneys in my family, and so
Wow, wow.
just a lot. Yeah, a lot there. So we got to.
And I don't
So
know if I told you that Charles's sister also died by suicide a few years
mm,
after him. So my mother-in-law, um,
experienced. Yes, a lot.
experienced a lot. She had two die by suicide and a third die by, I think, a heart attack. Out of 4 kids, three
Mm,
of them are gone, and she's still here.
mm.
She survived her husband as well. So surviving loss is something that we all have to help each other and lift each other up through.
That's right, and that's why we're having this discussion today, folks. Because, so as your experience, you've been in the justice world, legal world. How do you think that the justice system has handled or mishandled mental
Yeah.
health?
I can say that it's evolving because we
Hmm.
know that we've mishandled it. We know that we have a lot of people in our jails today who have suffered from mental issues that have just been criminalized instead of getting the help that they need. Our system, more and more of our courts have mental health court now because they recognize that um, some people, if they have a mental illness that keeps them from knowing what's right or wrong or keeps them from correcting their behavior. They may know it's wrong, but they don't have the capacity to stop doing it, and it's because of their mental issues and problems that they have. Um, and a lot of it's low level stuff, but they keep getting arrested and arrested, like criminal trespass, because somebody keeps going somewhere where they're not wanted, but they can't help that. Um, but we have more and more of our court systems that are taking that into consideration and making some adjustments, but we still have a long way to go in that arena. And it finds its way in all, not just the criminal process, but in our civil cases as well. But because we're looking at wellness overall and we're looking at mental health issues overall, that transcends into our practices
Hmm.
because once the attorneys start concentrating on being well, then they can recognize when their clients come in and handle them differently than they would have if they weren't paying attention. And so once we start paying attention, as they say, when you know better, you do better. And so
Yes.
that's what we're doing, and that's what I'm encouraging. That's part of why I do this work.
Well, I know, being a lawyer, being an accountant. Well, a lot of times I always, my friend, I say, "Hey, counselor," because I know, but I say, "Hey, counselor." It's almost sometimes like being a therapist for some of your
Yes.
clients. It can be, and so uh, within the field itself, you've identified. I think what you found is Center for Lawyer Well-being. Why then is wellness? You consider that to be so critical for lawyers and in the legal field?
Well, I believe that a well lawyer is a competent lawyer. If you're not well, you can't take care of other people. And this is a profession where we are taking care of people and we have people's lives in our hands. Um, if you're on the civil side, that the money can make all the difference in how you're able to continue your life. If you are dealing with the family issues, so you're deciding on who gets custody of the children or probation of a will. And then on the criminal side, we know that how we deal with our criminal clients, we have to be on top of things because they are bringing so much trauma to you. And you may not even have personal trauma, but when you take on the trauma of your clients that you're
Yes.
serving, it can be so burdensome because you can't solve all their issues.
Yes.
Even within our parameters, we can't stop that person from loving the person that's hurting them, you
Mhm.
know,
Mm,
and or we can't solve the fact that this child has to go to foster care because her parents can't take care of them, can't take care of her. So we can't solve those issues. So we don't have what we need to protect ourselves so that we can go and help the next person, then that affects our whole profession.
mm. We've
And
been
so that's
talking
where it
about,
kind of comes
yeah,
in.
you're caught up in it. We've been talking about, the fact that therapists probably need the most therapy than anybody at times. People
Yes.
on the front lines, civil rights leaders, who are out there all the time. Those are the folks who need it the most, the ones that are trying to create change and help for others.
Yeah, when you're carrying other people's burdens on your back in addition to your own, that's the reason it's important to concentrate on yourself. So we started with the State Bar of Georgia. We started a wellness task force, and then it grew into a wellness committee. And as of last year, officially was established the Center of Lawyer Wellbeing. And now we are actively getting started. We are actively having members join. We've had approximately 500 members join through
Wow.
this first phase. And so we're excited because that means we're reaching people. They're paying attention. They want to concentrate on wellness and they want to support the wellness activities of the bar, not just for themselves, but the people that they touch. Because when they're not well, I can tell you that family member, that law clerk, that lawyer's assistant, they know what they're dealing with. And we haven't talked about the substance abuse that comes along with that. There's other abuses that come along with trying to maintain and sustain. And we want to make sure we give people an out and a place of safety so they know not only they're not alone, there are people that care and there are resources here to help you.
Yes, yes. 'Cause there can be a lot of pressure. I've had the opportunity to work with employment lawyers, Neela, and I got to learn, that craft, and that's very personal for their clients. This is their job, their livelihood. So a lot of sad or tragic trauma stories. I guess you could even say, even with personal injury, where it can be a traumatic situation. So your lawyer definitely needs to make sure that they're doing well so that they can help the clients that they were hired to serve. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And it
Hmm.
happens not just with the lawyers, but, with the judges too. A lot of them are
Judges too.
also they're making the final decision on a lot of these cases, and they take that trauma home as well. And we had a court of appeals judge that died by suicide, and he worked in the area of mental
Mm.
health. But,
Mm.
it's just something that is ongoing, and we really have to continue to talk about it. We don't know who we touch, but we know we touch. You know what I mean? And people, I've had people come up to me and tell me that hearing me speak or coming to our event or platform changed what they were getting ready to do.
Hmm.
You know,
Mm.
and so
Mm.
I'm always about reaching one. I'm not trying to reach the masses with my
Yeah,
conversations and when we do things like this. If I just reach one,
and
because you don't know how many lives they touch,
yeah,
and we want them to stay here to touch
yes. Oh, I love it.
positive.
I love it. I've heard you say several times in this conversation, and it's my thing that, you're not alone, and, you're not the only person that's going through this. And by, talking with someone, and
Mhm,
it's so powerful what the mouth, just the mouth, just talking,
mhm,
can do to help folks. And so,
mhm, mhm.
uh, wow. I'm so glad once again, talking with Ms. Javoyne Hicks, Magnifying Synergy. That is your company where
Yeah.
you're doing what? Mindset coaching, life coaching. Talk about what made you get into that. I think I already know the answer since we've been talking, because you want to make sure everybody can do their
I
thing. But tell
do,
us tell
I
us tell
do.
us the thoughts behind.
What I've always had people come to me for advice and counsel on different things. I think, sometimes we don't know what our gifts are if we can't sing and dance, and that type of thing. And then I realized that people really, listen to the things, and I have a way of telling them and meeting them where they are, and I was doing it for free. So, I wanted to, figure out how to, provide services to people beyond my friends and, family, to be able to provide those services to other people. So one of the things that I do, I started off as executive, coach, to coach those, primarily, mid-career to upper career,
Except,
women in their,
oh, women.
35 and up kind of
Mhm.
range of people looking at how do I move to the next level and coaching them as far as where do I go from here and how do I get there? That was my initial just focus. Um, and then inevitably, whoever I spoke with, wellness was a deep part of the
Mhm.
conversation. Life and what happens in our life was a deep part of the conversation. So I just expanded it to executive life with wellness interfused together in coaching because I help people get them from where they are to where they want to be. A therapist can help people deal with the trauma that happened to them in the past. So I'm
Yeah.
not a therapist. I don't pretend to be one. And even in my wellness coaching, I'm the kind of person, I get you the help you need. You tell me what's wrong, and I'm gonna try to get you to the people
People.
that can help you with solve that problem. I'm not a nutritionist. And I don't teach yoga. That's not me, you know, but I'm going to remind you that you're important. And I'm going to remind you that you deserve to be healthy and happy and well. And then we're going to work together to help you get to those things.
Very good, very good. As you talk to, some of the executives and folks out here in leadership, what do you think they often miss when it comes to integrating mental wellness into their organizations?
That no is a complete sentence.
Oh, say that one more time.
No,
No is the
no
complete.
is a complete sentence.
Wow.
They have problems with boundaries.
Mm,
Um, Most of the people that I've encountered, they have a helpful spirit, and you're in that leadership position because you take charge and you're finding the answers for people. Um, and because you do that, people keep coming to you. And if you don't set up your own boundaries, then they're not going to stop. They don't have a reason to stop. And if you don't stop them, there's nothing to tell them to stop. I found out through one of the classes that I went to, because I was doing the same thing, you know, when you're the only one that can violate your boundary.
mm,
You could tell people all day, I could say, Vince, don't call me on Wednesdays. But if I answer the call when you call me on Wednesday, why would you stop?
ah,
Why would you stop? And so you have to honor your own boundaries. And that comes across in family at home as well as work. And that's one of the things that a major issue that especially executive women, um, and then executive leaders, attorneys, people who are in charge, and people who, that others look to lead them, um, don't know how to say no. And they have to, in order to protect themselves, they got to learn to say no, or definitely not now. Put it in your time frame, not just always responding to everybody else's time frame.
and this new workplace now where it's hybrid this or work from home or it's just a lot of new dynamics, and I think that is confusing some of our young people that are coming up as to how they actually do well and achieve in their jobs. So I like though that learn that no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
Mm. That's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah, yeah. As vice president, Javoyne, of DEI, which these
Mhm.
days, whew, DEI for the wellness for lawyers and a board member. Uh, how do you bring a culturally grounded approach to mental health advocacy? Culturally grounded. We're me and you are both African Americans. We came from a certain place. We lived on a certain side of town. We eat a certain kind of food. We like to dress a certain kind of way. Can you bring that together?
Well, I tell you, it's a challenge
Yeah,
when you are talking to people who are just used to, we don't put our business in the street.
that's right.
We keep everything at home. What happens in the house stays in the house. And as a friend of mine said, that might even work if you talked about it in the house.
That's right. That's
But you
right.
don't talk about it in the house.
That's right.
So we just have to go day by day to continue to do the things I just finished saying that we do. We talk about it. We tell people, it is no shame in letting people know that you are hurting and you need help.
Mm,
There's no shame in that. And so I don't know where that started. I don't know where shaming people for needing help came from. And when you do the analogy to, you don't, one of your family members has a heart condition or has cancer, you take them to the doctor. There's no shame in taking them to the doctor. So
that's
if they
right.
have mental health issues, why is there shame to take them to the doctor? This
That's
is
right.
not something that is occurred like on their own. If they had full control over everything, then they wouldn't be having they wouldn't choose to have those problems.
You
So
should
if you
treat
could
your
take
physical
people,
health just as much as
it's
like you
the
do
same.
your mental
It's
health,
the
like you do your
same.
physical health. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And
Mhm.
if we can get that message to our people, um, that there's no shame in that and is no different than the physical problems that people have, um, I think we would go a long way. And I tell you, Vince, one of the other things that I would like to do across the board that go beyond our entities is if we could get the insurance industry to
Mhm.
um, allow for a yearly mental checkup the same way they've added annual physical checkups as part of your insurance,
Mhm.
then that would help destigmatize for those who still don't want to go. They can say, "Oh, I'm just going because it's part of my insurance,"
Good,
and take
good.
away. And then that way, so people who don't have any issues, they just got a free conversation. But
Yes.
people that may have something and didn't wanna tell anybody, this forces them to have to just go ahead, and then a person who has the knowledge can, read people when they actually see them and hear them and listen to them and say, there might be something else going on, or you might want to continue having conversations or refer them to a medical doctor because you may have some other medical issues that could need other diagnoses that would require some medication or holistic type of medicine. So
Oh, I love that. We're gonna lobby on that.
yeah,
I'm gonna write that down. We're gonna
yeah.
figure out that we're gonna go to Washington, wherever we
Yeah,
need to go.
wherever,
That is
because we did it for, they added it as a part of your insurance now for
mhm,
physical, so let's take the next step. They've
that's
already taken a micro step because remember, at one point, therapy wasn't even covered under insurance, period.
that's
So they've
right.
taken a micro step that some insurance companies do at least cover some mental health, cases and mental health, um, appointments. So let's take it to the next step and make it part of just an annual visit as part of your insurance.
We also want to always encourage, I mean, the EAP, employee assistance programs, which just about every, at least municipalities and the government has them, and a lot
Mhm,
of jobs offer them. But,
mhm.
that stigma comes into play again. Oh, I don't want my folks at work to know what I'm going through, kind of thing. But
Exactly.
hey, take advantage of these opportunities and you will see we don't want to lose anyone in our families, our friends, and the resources are out there. My personal thing is also the getting more culturally competent therapists and just going to school. Our kids, our young people going to school for this field because we need more that look like me and you. I'm learning, Javoyne, about, as you were saying earlier, the other cultures. There's some distinct differences. In the
Mhm,
African culture, they want to put a spell on you. They think that it's more spiritual when you're
mhm,
in the Asian community. You're causing shame. Their face. They call it face, but you're losing face for our family if you do that.
mhm,
The Hispanic community or Mexicans, you go talk to the family first. You don't talk to nobody out there. So
mhm.
everybody has a different way of dealing with this, but it still comes down to, hey, we got to deal with it. And
Exactly,
as you
exactly.
said, therapy is a great way. So this has really been a great conversation, Javoyne. I really appreciate it. I want you, if you would, if there's someone out there who's listening, who's in the middle of a storm now, be it grief, burnout, to just feeling stuck, something like that, what would you say to them to get them going?
I would just say if you're dealing with anything, there are resources available. There's if you're a lawyer, you can use your six and go on the state bar website and see how to do that to access those free sessions. It is not connected to disciplinary at all. There is no communication. It's just to make sure that you're okay and you do not have to be in crisis. If in general you're not a lawyer in the state of Georgia, 988 is a national number that you can call to access resources in your state for whatever level those resources are. Again, you do not have to wait to be in crisis to use these lifelines. And do not let stigma take you away from us. You're more valuable than any label that anybody could put on you. We need you and we want you here.
Amen. Amen. If people wanted to reach out to you, where do they find you, Javoyne?
You can find me at magnifyingsynergy.com. You can reach me at magnifyingsynergy@gmail.com, or you can reach me by phone at 770-381-8000.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for taking this time. And we thank our listeners, viewers, for tuning in. Remember, again, healing isn't a luxury, it's a right, and it's possible at any stage of your life, even in leadership, even in loss. And if today's conversation moved you, please share with someone who needs to hear it. Follow us at Black Mental Matters and visit blackmentalmatters.com for more stories, more healing, and more power in our community. Till next time, take care of yourself because your mental matters. Thanks again.